All right, let's dive into a story that really gets to the heart of any deal you'll ever make. We're talking about the case of the misrepresented cattle and what happens when a critical promise just isn't true. So, here's the big question, right? Imagine you're about to make a huge investment, and your decision is based on one single assurance from the seller. What happens if that assurance turns out to be a flat-out lie? Can that one false statement really be enough to tear up the whole contract? Let's find out.
Okay, let's set the scene. On one side, you've got Emma. She's looking to buy a massive pastoral property. We're talking a serious, life-changing investment. And on the other side is Faye, the current owner of that land and all the livestock on it. The stage is set for a really big deal.
Now, during the talks, Faye says something very, very specific to Emma. She assures her there are about 2,000 yearling cattle on it. And look, this isn't just casual conversation. For a property like this, the number and age of the cattle are absolutely fundamental to its value. The entire deal is basically balancing on this one sentence. But then, bam. After the ink is dry, Emma makes this just shocking discovery. Faye had promised around 2,000 young cattle. The reality? Barely 1,000. And, to make matters even worse, they weren't yearlings, they were much older. This isn't just a rounding error, it's a colossal difference that completely changes the value of what she bought. So, you can imagine Emma's in a really tough spot. She's been totally misled. The asset she paid for is worth way less than she was told. So the question becomes, what can she do? Is she just stuck with a bad deal, or is there a legal escape hatch? And this is where a really important legal idea comes into play: misrepresentation. It's a pretty powerful concept in the world of contracts. To put it simply, it's a false statement of fact that convinces or induces someone to sign on the dotted line. Sounds like a perfect fit for Emma's problem, doesn't it? Well, hold on, because it's not quite that simple. You see, for a misrepresentation claim to actually stick, you've got to check 4 specific boxes, so let's walk through them. First up, was there a false statement of fact? Yep, 2,000 yearling cattle was definitely false. Second, was it told directly to Emma? Yes, it was. Third, was it meant to get her to sign the contract? For sure, stock numbers are crucial in a sale like this. And fourth, was it a major factor in her decision? Absolutely. I mean, on paper, this looks like a slam dunk. So, with all 4 of those boxes ticked, the initial answer seems pretty clear, right? It looks like Emma has the right to rescind the contract. That's just the legal term for unwinding the whole thing, basically hitting a giant reset button and pretending the deal never even happened. It seems like she has a rock-solid case. Okay, but this is where the story takes a massive turn. Let's throw a wrench in the works. What if, before signing that contract, Emma decided, you know what? I should probably go check this out for myself. What if she hired her own crew to go count the cattle? Does that change anything? The answer is, oh yeah, it changes everything. So you see, this creates 2 totally different scenarios. In the first one, without an inspection, Emma is making her decision based completely on what Faye told her. But in the second scenario, if she does her own inspection, she's now acting on what her own investigation revealed. It's a really subtle shift, but it's legally huge. She's not trusting Faye's word anymore, she's trusting herself. And that one little change, it points us to the absolute core of this whole case. The idea of reliance. This is the linchpin. For a misrepresentation claim to work, it's not enough that a lie was told. You have to prove that you actually relied on that false statement when you made your choice. The lie has to be the reason you signed. There's a line from the legal analysis of this case that just nails this point perfectly. It says if Emma does her own inspection, she did not act on it, but on her own independently obtained advice. That one action, checking for herself, completely changes the legal dynamic. So here's the bottom line, that independent inspection breaks what lawyers call the chain of reliance. Now, Faye's statement is still false. That part doesn't change, but it's no longer the legal reason Emma entered the contract. The reason is now her own homework. And just like that, her claim for misrepresentation, it's gone. So let's wrap this up. What are the big takeaways? First off, a false promise can absolutely kill a contract, but only if it qualifies as misrepresentation. Second,
You have to hit all 4 of those legal elements. Third, and this is the big one, it all comes down to reliance. You have to prove you actually trusted the false statement. And finally, the second you do your own verification, you shift that reliance from the seller onto your own shoulders, and that can change the entire outcome.
And really, this whole story leaves us with a much bigger question, one that applies to pretty much any deal we make in our lives. In any negotiation, where exactly is the line? Where does trusting what someone tells you end, and your own responsibility to do your homework, to verify the facts, begin? It's a tricky balance between trust and due diligence, and as Emma's case shows us, getting that balance wrong can have huge consequences. Definitely something to think about.